What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XCN today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. I want to talk about XCN versus BTC, but first I want to give you guys some examples of what's going on here. But before we get into all of it, I gotta admit, I actually made a video. I made a very long video on XCN. It was probably like a 30-minute video, but it was a lot of me spinning my wheels, a lot of me getting my head in a pretzel, as Cal Knott Jr. would say. I got my head in a pretzel. I got my head in a pretzel. Uh, yeah, I had my head in a pretzel because I do think that Bitcoin from here is going to drop down to about 72K, probably just below there. That's about an 18% drop. And if Bitcoin drops 18%, what's XCN going to do? It's probably going to drop more than just a little bit past that, right? 20%, 25%, probably more. And if we drop 25% or more, and I would think we do if Bitcoin drops 18%, that takes us below the land of the rising sun. So this is what had me in a little bit of a spin. I'm like, I don't know what to think of this, because it's not that I can't see us going below here. I can see us going below here, and it's fine if we do. I would assume any time spent below that line, short-lived, very short, like any of these lows. It's a moment, and then you're ripping through the roof. Um, but it might not happen. It might not happen that we go that low, and the only way that I can make sense of out of that is if we pump. But how are we going to pump if Bitcoin's about to drop, right? And the only thing that makes me think that we're going to pump right now or see some kind of move, and maybe we do, maybe we don't. I want you guys to be aware. We're going to go over some stuff here in a second, but I want you to be aware that anything could happen, right? We could massively pump, we could massively dump, and when I say massively dump, I don't mean anything crazy. Like I don't think that XCN is going to drop like all the way to these highs down here. Some people think that we're going to drop 63% or more, 65% or more. I don't think that's going to happen, man. I have a hard time seeing XCN drop more than like 40% at the most, and a 50% drop versus a 40% drop is a big difference. 40% would take us to 00636, and that's a lot lower than what I anticipate to happen, but could it happen from a low to a high? Just being candid here, being honest, let's see. It could happen. We could go right below that 2272. It's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. And we'll go over that in a second, but something that would absolve us of going below these lows, something that would make sense out of Bitcoin dropping 18%, XCN dropping 30%, 40%, somewhere in that range, or at the very least 25% or more, and not going below these lows. The only way to make sense out of that is if it pumps. Well, if it pumps, we would see signs of that, right? We would see signs that we're about to move up, and I wonder if we are. I just wonder if we are. Because we look at the 4-hour time frame here. We look at the highs. We come on down. We're finding resistance here this whole way through. Showed our hand a little foreshadowing there. Started to flirt with it. You know what happens when you flirt? You get some penetration. And we penetrated that area right there, found support on it, pushed back on it, and now we're starting to diverge from it. If it wasn't for Bitcoin, if it wasn't for my assumptions on Bitcoin, and maybe I'm just wrong about Bitcoin, guys. I don't know. Or maybe I'm wrong about XCN. I don't think so. Even if I am, as far as like how low it's going to go, I don't think that it's going to go as far as like some crazy people think it is, man. It's not going to drop. Like 40% is the most I can see it dropping, and that's being like generous. That's being very generous to the downside. I have a hard time seeing that, but getting back to work here, if Bitcoin were to drop this low, and XCN was to not go below the land of the rising sun, that's because XCN would have to pump versus Bitcoin, or it'd have to pump at least now, so that if and when that drop happens, it comes back, and maybe it is lower than this low, maybe it's a higher low, something like that. And just because that's the sense that we're making out of it, doesn't mean it has to happen. But this is where I got distracted. If it wasn't for Bitcoin, I'd actually be bullish on this, because you broke out of your downtrend, you found support on it, and now you're diverging away from it. You've had the opportunity, you've had every opportunity to drop back, and you just don't do it. You're just not doing it, man. I mean, you probably do inevitably fall back to this line. I would think so. But your 4-hour RSI has been weak as hell. What are you doing? Why aren't you moving down? And if you notice, we have these little bull trap moves that happen all the way through. Even stuff like this, they happen. We haven't had one of those in a while. Relative to this whole move down, it's actually been a decent bit since we've had one of these moves. I mean, like literally, let me just show you on a date price perspective. From this low here to this high, you moved up a total of 81%, right? And then it took you, maybe that's not what I want to do. It took you Let's leave it at that until the next low. How about that? We'll do that. We'll put it there, and we'll leave it at the next low. So it took. No, that doesn't make sense. Here's what I want to do. So okay, I know what I want to do. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna measure all of them just real quick. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Low to high. Just bear with me. Okay, we're not even into what I really wanted to talk about. I'm getting distracted still. But 81% of a pump there, right? Low to high, and of course it's going to be more volatile at these times. 87% right there. Come on, buddy. Come on. 49%. Even this little one here, right? That's what we're talking about. 24%. Little thing there, sure. I mean, we can throw that in there, but it's pretty damn small. But sure, right? Relative to what we're seeing now, it's pretty big. 16%. 26%. I know it seems boring. 26%, but just bear with me here, okay? 54%. Low. That was not the low. Hold on. 42%, right? All these little pumps here. Even here, even this little guy right here. 15, 16%, right? So the smallest pump that we've seen so far was 15.9%, 15.7%. We haven't had one of those since this last one here. And if you notice all these lines, the largest gap that we've had so far was in between this low and this low here, and that was about 53 4-hour periods, which is about 8 days and 20 hours. And even in that time, actually, from a high to a low, I didn't consider it at first, but that was a 19% pump. So that's not even appropriate. That's not even appropriate. I would say, oh, come on, man. It's because I've got the whatever that's called on there. Did I delete that one too? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to delete that. Let's go. High to low here. So the longest amount of time, I don't know, how much would it be? From this low here to that low, maybe? Yeah. 36 bars, 37 bars, 37 days. This one here to that one is 26 days. This one here to this one is 30 days. Or not 30 days, I'm sorry, 30 bars. None of these are that long. This one's kind of long too. Just bear with me, I have a point, okay? From this low to that low. Because that's what we're doing, low to low, right? That one, that was the longest one. Okay, so 64 bars. It was the longest one, 64. Up until here, right? It's been 100 bars, essentially. 104-hour candles since we've seen anything that was greater than a 10% pump. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that, right? Because we actually included this one, my bad. 79 bars. Still the longest one, still, right? From this one, if we're technically including even the small ones below 20% pumps. All I'm trying to say is I think that we're overdue for some kind of bull trap. And at the smallest end, does it make sense? Is it making sense so far? Because again, we take all this away. You've broken out of this downtrend. Okay, you can see it. You broke out of it here. You flirted with it and you broke through it. And now you're separating. That's kind of bullish, actually. Like, if we're being honest. It's been a second since you've seen a move up like this. Doesn't mean that we're overdue, but I'm thinking that way, right? The smallest move we've seen so far is 15.7%. The largest move we've seen was 81%. Let's throw these ones out of the way because that maybe we just have implied volatility because we were just starting to drop, right? Uncertain times. 49%, maybe even 54%. Let's take away these bigger moves and just see what we're left with, right? We're left with even this 42% move. We're left with 15% to 26%, right? That's about it. So what would a 15% move from the low here do? 15% would take you right up to 1.2 cents, which makes sense. 1.2 cents. 26% would take you... Right, I deleted the big ones. I'm not being a moon boy here. I'm talking about like literally what we've seen throughout this whole range. That'd take you up to 1.3 cents. If you were to go to any of these areas, if we take this relative high here and we consider this to be the low, right? Not the fake out low, but this low here. If you look, this area here is right at the 382, which is the minimum area that I would think you go to. Prior areas of support, prior areas of resistance. It makes sense to me. And it's the smaller end of moves up that we've seen. And then on the average of the higher end of the smaller moves, we'd also go up to here at about 1.363 cents, which is just above the 6.9. Maybe we don't go quite as high as 26%. Maybe we stop at 22% or 24%, right at the golden ratio here at about 1.3 cents. And we see the price finding resistance at prior areas of support here. Something between this area. Okay? Does it make sense? Now we run back. We put it at this high, the very shortest high, and we see what a 30% drop would be from here. 30% drop there takes us still, if we're looking at it, if Bitcoin drops 18%, I could see XCN dropping 30%, right at the base of this range. Okay, so not financial advice, not a financial advisor. We went off on a whole different page than I thought we were going to go on. But if we pump from here, I'm going to delete everything now. Take notes. And I could be wrong, but if we pump from here, don't FOMO. Don't FOMO, right? We're not ready to FOMO. You shouldn't be FOMOing, laying the hammer down on this thing until we close a day above 1.9 cents. 1.8 cents at the least, but 1.9 cents. And even then, we close above 1.9 cents, we can still come back down and then continue to go, right? It might not be the most ideal time, but I'm just saying, if you're planning on buying lower, like if I had no XCN and I wanted to buy lower, it went to 1.9 cents, I would lay the hammer down up there. I would eat that opportunity cost, because I might miss that little move there at the sake of catching this little move here, but I'm not going to miss the big move to come, right? Okay, now I want to talk about something else, which also encourages me to think that we're going to bounce here. This is what I wanted to get on originally, but we haven't even gotten to that part yet. Let's look at Bitcoin here, okay? I have a purpose, I have a point, I promise you. We're going to get there, okay? If you look at this for what it is on a weekly basis, I think one could derive that this overall, this move here from a low to a high, this is an overall move, all in one, right? Like this, it's like this here. Yes, there's pieces of this move from a low to a high to a low to a high. There's pieces of this move, but this was overall one move here, then you consolidated. One move here, then you consolidated, right? One move here, then you consolidated, right? You could see it kind of like that. If this were to be one move, which I think I don't think it's inappropriate to take that low to high there. Sorry, not that. I meant this one. It's not inappropriate to take a fib low to high from here like this. You bounce right off the golden ratio after all. It's not inappropriate at all. But looking at this, I think this is a more solid base from a low to a high on significant moves, you guys. On significant moves, and I would call that a significant move. You find support at the 382 most of the time on significant moves, whether it's on a bearish effect or a bullish effect. Bearish effect, resistance at the 382, bullish effect, support, right? Low to high, you found support right there at the 382, and then you continue to run. Okay, low to high, support at the 382, then you continue to run. You know, are there any others like this? Let's see. Would this be a good one here? Maybe the COVID low to the high. I don't know if this is appropriate at all. Hit the 236, not so much appropriate. And you could take this low. I don't know though how significant of a low that is. But again, right there, to be fair, you did hit your 382, found support, and continued to run, and you went higher. You did, right? A very significant run. And this, I guess it is fair because it is at the base. You didn't start your move down here. You started it here because that's when you broke out of your high. So that would be the base, not of your flagpole, but just of this move here. 382, and then you ran, right? Here even, on this busted one where you went lower, watch this, right? From a low, because I remember this, I thought that we were going to go higher back here too because it's the same kind of principle. It's not perfect. No indicator is. But from a low to a high, come on, you bounced right off your 382. But instead of going higher, you found resistance at your 236, so inevitably you went lower. But still, strong move, immaculate support at the 382 area, right? You can see it. Look at this. Go back in time, take this relative low. I think there's no argument there that low is appropriate, that high is appropriate, right off the 382 and then up. I've made my point. Why are we talking about this, Chris? Why was it C-Zar? Sorry. That's my real name in case nobody knew that. My name is Chris. But no, I'm C-Zar, Caesarius the Great. If we're looking at this XCN versus Bitcoin here, we are at what I would call a very significant move. And from a low here to the high, we're right at the 382. And if we're expecting some kind of a bounce, it might make sense that it happens sooner than later. Now, does it have to happen right now? No. And does it mean that we have to go through? No. If you find resistance at the 236, that could be the death of you. I don't think it will be. Wouldn't surprise me if we found resistance here, pop back off the 382, found some kind of a higher low or a double bottom, something like that. Wouldn't surprise me if we went above the 236, consolidate like this. I don't know, something like this. We could bounce from here, move up, slowly kind of stagger and just move up all the way, something like that. But this kind of behavior normally is indicative that we will see higher prices. So, I don't know, man. I'm curious. I'm just curious to say or see what XCN does. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Anything can happen. Be aware that, again, it makes a lot of sense that if Bitcoin drops about 18%, it would actually make a lot of sense if XCN was here that it would drop below the land of the rising sun, which I don't see happening, but it could happen. If it does happen, I don't think that we're going to drop 65% like some people think we're going to. I don't think that we're dropping back to these highs, no. I mean, maybe it could happen. I don't see Bitcoin dropping 18% and this thing drops 65%. If it was a pump and dump, man, it would have dumped already. This is very well maintained consolidation. You can't argue that. But I have a hard time if we drop from here, from the current price, and Bitcoin drops, I have a hard time seeing you stop there. So the only way that I can make sense out of a drop of which would be larger than Bitcoin's drop would be if we started from higher prices, or if we went below this. And either way, I'm having a hard time seeing either of those outcomes. So if it wasn't for Bitcoin and what I believe my perceived perspective on Bitcoin was, I'd have no problem calling for 0095, 00844 like I have been. But I'm scratching my head a little bit. I wonder what's going to happen. And I'm kind of leaning toward the idea that we still, maybe this pump is going to happen. Maybe we do see some kind of quick last little pump before the dump here. I don't know if it goes above 1.5 cents, but the higher the better, I suppose. I just wanted to share with you guys my thoughts, okay? And I hope it all makes sense. I don't have anything else that I want to say. This video's gone on longer than I planned for it to. So hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.